Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Lace up those boots and sling on the pack for a romp through trails, short and long. With your host and Renaissance man, Doc. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Let's start off with a reminder. If you are enjoying the podcast, take just a minute and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're not enjoying the pod, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. Okay, let's get down to this week's episode. Well, it's a small world, even on the hiking accounts on Instagram. Most of you will remember our friend from the UK, PJ, or maybe you'll remember his Instagram handle, No Hike to Thru Hike. Well, shortly after my interview with him and our discussion about his instant obsession with hiking, I just happened to stumble across the Instagram account of this week's guest, Chadahooche, and I reached out to see if he wanted to share some of his adventures on the pod. Literally the next day, PJ sends me a message saying, "Hey, you should talk to Chadahooche and see if he wants to come on the show and talk." Great minds think alike, and it's truly a small world. Welcome to the show, Chadahooche.
Hey, man, how's it going?
So the first thing I have to ask is, do you know PJ or are you familiar with his account?
So PJ and I, we kind of like linked up right before everything happened with COVID and all that kind of mess kind of happened. So basically we were both going to do like a no-bow route of the JMT. And so we somehow found each other on Instagram, added each other and kind of talked about, the no-bow route and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, then of course like COVID hits, and then all of a sudden like, his circumstances around the JMT look like they're in limbo. And like, I was like, dude, that sucks, because he's overseas. And so, yeah, so we've kind of just chatted on and off since then and, kind of doing similar content and things like that. And I really enjoyed that he couldn't do the JMT ultimately, but he pivoted, ended up doing some other hikes, doing some content and things like that. So we might have a partnership as well down the road in some areas because I know he's like a PT guy and I'm kind of interested in that, especially for hikers too, so yeah.
Nice. Now I know his trip was derailed by the whole COVID thing, but you, on the other hand, you were able to get out. Is that correct?
You bet, man. Yep, I was able to get out. I was fortunate enough. I'm just from Oregon, like I said, and it actually wasn't too far of a trip down there to Cotton, or what was it, Horseshoe Meadows, and well, I guess it was kind of a long. It was like a flight, then a bus ride, then like a taxi. It was all this whole thing. You know how it goes. So, yeah. But no, it was great. I'm fortunate enough to actually, be local and be kind of close. So yeah.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're able to get out there. That gives us some material to talk about this episode.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
All right. Hey, have you listened to the podcast before?
So I've been listening to the one with PJ, and then I also listened to the one with Halfway Anywhere Mac. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and which, by the way, random, on my first day out of Horseshoe Meadows, right? I'm walking, it's hot as hell. I'm walking, I'm like, dang, it's pretty hot. I'm just thinking all those thoughts to myself. Hadn't seen anybody, had not seen one person. It's like noon. And I'm like, where is everybody on this trail, right? Who's the first person I see on the John Muir Trail is Mac from Halfway Anywhere. No kidding.
Way.
And I'm I'm talking to him and I'm like, dude, you look really familiar. Like you remind me of this guy that does the blog, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, that's me or whatever. And so, yeah, it was great, dude. We chit-chatted for a little bit and added each other on IG and stuff. And it was great.
That's awesome. That almost sounds like a Tony Hawk encounter. You ever heard these stories about Tony Hawk?
No.
Where you know who Tony Hawk is?
Yeah.
So he will, he'll go to random appointments or reservations, and people will say, "Hey, you look like Tony Hawk." And he's like, "Yeah, I get that a lot." He kind of plays it off.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. Tony Hawk, man. Now, Tony Hawk on the JMT, that would be something else right there. That would be totally crazy.
I've got to reach out to him and see if he's done it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked if you would listen to the podcast, I want to make sure that you're familiar with a regular feature that we have, and that is the Pro Tip Insight of the Week.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So at the end of the episode, I'll turn to you and I'll say, hey, Chadahooche, what can you share with our listeners to make their next adventure that much more epic? What little insight or tip or trick? So don't be surprised when we get there.
Yep, you bet.
Okay. Hey, another feature we've been doing this season is the must-bring gear review. Here's how it works. If you were to let a stranger pack your bag with pretty much generic gear for a multi-day hike, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? And if you've got a particular brand for that specific piece of gear, even better. So,
that's a great one. That is a great one. So it has to be a generic piece of gear, or just it can be any piece of gear, like a good piece.
Yeah, so somebody's going to pack your bag, but you're saying to them, hey, you know what? I have to bring this specific piece of gear. What would it be for Chadahooche? What is your go-to piece of equipment out there?
Well, okay. I'm going to give you two, okay?
Okay.
The first one is pretty self-explanatory, right? I just picked up this Western Mountaineering ultralight sleeping bag. Absolutely love it. I may or may not have spent my stimulus check on it, but it was totally worth it. I've never had like a really, really nice sleeping bag, and I will tell you what, this thing is awesome. I really love it. So Western Mountaineering ultralight bag, down bag, it's awesome.
So it's down. What is it rated to?
It's rated to 20, and I actually just had it out. We did a winter backpack over at Crater Lake, and in the snow a couple weeks, actually over Thanksgiving, and put just a little sleeping bag liner in it as well. Got down to like 17 or something, and I was literally actually hot. Like I had to actually take it off every once in a while. One of those things.
Right.
Yep. And then, but my second one, okay. My second one is
before you get to your second one. Let's stick with your sleep system just for a second.
Gotcha.
What is your accompanying pad, and are you a cowboy camper, or do you tent or tarp it?
Dude, great questions. Okay, so my pad is a Climate Static V Lite. Dude, and I've tried to rationalize buying on a more expensive pad, and I just can't do it. This pad, the specs are awesome. You look at it, very comparable to those Thermalites, and man, I just love it.
Yeah, I've got the same one. It's awesome,
dude, and it's like $80. I'm like, why are people? I don't understand. So yeah, awesome pad, right? And I kind of it's kind of comfy. I don't know. It's kind of like you kind of get in there. And then wait, what was the other part of the question? I forget now.
Tent it, tarp it, cowboy camp.
Oh, okay. So I actually just got a Gossamer Gear, the one. And so it's a trekking pole tent. But what I used on the JMT was the Big Agnes Fly Creek UL2. But I have dabbled around a little bit last summer with the cowboy camping, as well as tarp camping. And I will say I love cowboy camping when I'm around other people. I don't really like doing it when I'm by myself. I'm a little scared. But dude, it is great. Just waking up in the middle of the night and you see the stars and stuff, and that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna do some more of that this year, I think too.
Nice. Yeah. And you have done some tarp camping? Yeah.
So this company sent me a tarp. And I'm not sure if I set it up right, but it worked. I mean, it didn't rain that night. So I was kind of essentially cowboy camping. But yeah, I like those actual tarp tents, like that company, where you can actually put the trekking poles in them and stuff like that. So I've been interested in that too. Just, around in Oregon, it doesn't really rain in the summer at all ever. So it'd be a decent time to do it, I think, practice with it.
I went down the rabbit hole with tarps a little bit. Spent hours on on the weekend watching tarp videos on YouTube and the different pitches, and I'm pretty happy with my tarp. I even, to my detriment, I took it out on a September hike last year, actually 2019, up by Thousand Island Lake on the JMT. And I probably should have gone tent. Probably should have gone with a sleeping bag. But I was doing the tarp, doing the quilt, and 6 layers of clothing, and I survived the night, but it was chilly.
Oh my God, dude. Dude, that was like my coldest night on the JMT was sleeping at Thousand Islands Lakes or whatever. And oh my God, I can't imagine that. In September, dude? God, good for you, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so you had a second piece of gear you were going to talk about.
Okay, well, this one, we'll probably get into this when we talk about the JMT, but SPF chapstick. I know it's not a piece of gear. It's like kind of a, I don't know what you'd call it, but toiletry. But SPF chapstick, especially when you're in like an exposed area like the JMT, is critical. That would be my other piece.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into some background here on you. I'll start off with your trail name. So I'm assuming Chadahooche is your trail name. It's not actually what appears on your driver's license, correct?
Dude, that's so funny, man. So, okay, Chadahooche is actually not even my trail name. I don't even actually have a trail name. So here's the thing. But you know what? I might just make Chadahooche my trail name, although I can't give it to myself, really. Can I? But Chadahooche was given to me in college, which was, a few years ago. So
Kind of like a trail name, right? In college, you're on the trail.
Dude, that's totally right. Totally true. Maybe I might just stick with it because I feel like if I change my Instagram now, people are going to be like, what the heck? No, I don't have a trail name yet. I have a weird hiking style. I kind of hike solo, and then I'll hike with people for a couple days. Then I'll hike solo, and then I'll hike. I just have like a weird, like, I don't know, a rhythm or something, or people get off trail, and then I don't want to push the trail name either. Like, I just want to kind of happen organically sort of thing, but, we never know. Maybe we'll just stick with Chadahooche.
Yeah, tough for solo hikers to pick up trail names because they're not with anybody.
Dude, I know, it's the worst. That's like what PJ was saying too. Like I was listening to his, he's like, I don't really have one because I kind of solo hike, and I know, I'm like, I get it, dude. So, yeah.
Nice. So you're in Oregon now. Where did you grow up? And tell us about your family growing up. And did you guys do hiking activities? Is that where this all started?
Yeah, great question. So I actually, so I'm in Oregon now. Yeah, I actually grew up in Wisconsin. So go Packers.
Cheesehead.
And yeah, I'm a cheesehead. So my parents are very hardcore Packer fans. They actually named my brother and sister Brett after Brett Favre, and then Brittany after his daughter in '97 when they were born, and the Packers also won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's kind of like in the blood. So
we're having this interview. This episode comes out on March 6th. So the Super Bowl will be done by then. But right now,
you're looking good.
Today is January 4th. That we're doing the interview on January 4th. The Packers won yesterday, secured the #1 seed in the NFC. They're looking pretty good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, how many touchdowns did he have and only 5 interceptions?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, dude. I am not like God, I'm such a bad Packer fan compared to everybody at home. Like, they would be so embarrassed. Like, I barely watch football anymore, and but I mean, if they're gonna go to the Super Bowl, I'm gonna watch that, right? Like, there's some cool Packer bars down in Portland, although they probably won't be open, but that'd be fun to go to. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. So I was raised. We had like 40 acres, like in our backyard, so just kind of like woods and stuff like that. So did some like deer hunting and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, like, we weren't a camping family at all. Like, I never camped at all ever. With my parents. I was just kind of more just like in the woods like all day when I was younger, and then would come home, sleep at the house or whatever. But yeah, we never did like camping trips. My dad was like, I actually just asked my dad about this like the other day. He was kind of like, well, why would we go out to drive somewhere to go camp when we have like woods in our, sort of thing. So he wasn't that big into it. Mom was more into nature. Yeah. So, but yeah, so then anyway, moved out to Oregon and, love it here, man. I mean, I love the Pacific Northwest once you get used to the rain. So yeah.
Yeah. What part of Oregon are you in?
So I am in McMinnville. So it's the Willamette Valley. So it's like whenever you read those history books, that's where all the pioneers were trying to get to, right? Like on the Oregon Trail is the Willamette Valley. So right in there, pretty close to the coast, Portland, Mount Hood. Yeah.
Okay. So my oldest daughter attended Southern Oregon University in Ashland by Medford.
Oh yeah. So that's like, that's like pretty much California, right? Like that's like 5 hours south of me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool.
Got it. So what was the moment that got you into through hiking? I mean, I call it the butterfly effect moment. You know, there's some people
Yeah.
have a random conversation with somebody and hear about the JMT or the PCT, or they have a random thought, and
Yeah.
based on that little encounter, that little interaction, or that thought, you know, their life takes a change, and they pick up this hobby where they think it's nice to, you know, carry everything you need on your back, you know, 30,
Yeah.
40 pounds, and go live like you're homeless for weeks on end.
Dude, seriously, right? Well, it all started with this movie with Reese Witherspoon. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
No, no, no. You know, honestly, dude, I think it was like this whole building up of things. I think it was like a bunch of little things that finally like catapulted me to actually go do something. I look back sometimes like on my old photos on my phone, and I always have like these screenshots of like the PCT or like AT things or like information that I never like followed up on, but I would like store, and like I would think I was going to come back to, but I never did. But then I think I watched like that mile and a half, that JMT documentary, right? It was a really good one.
Good.
They were going southbound, and, you know, regular people. And so that was cool. And then I ended up reading this book called, it was called Thru Hiking Will Break Your Heart. It was by Carrot Quinn.
Yes, I've read that too.
Yeah, it's very descriptive. I mean, like to the T, like every day. And like I really synced up with her way of thinking, especially when prior to doing the trail, like waking up, checking your phone, your whole life revolves around the internet, da 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 da, right? And so that I ended up buying like, you know, one of those guidebooks, the PCT Oregon section hiking guidebook, right? And I'm like, I go past it all the time. Sandy Am Pass. I'm always going past this thing. And so anyway, started reading that, was like deeply enthralled in that, underlining things, like everything, you know, and then just decided I'm going to go do a section hike and see what I think of it. And I learned a ton. So, and that's just, and then, yeah, that's just what started it. I mean, I loved it. Loved it.
Nice. I've got another book for you. If you haven't listened to the episode, I was able to talk to Barney Scout Mann.
Oh yeah.
He is he's legendary, and he wrote a book. It was a book a memoir about his 2007 through hike of the PCT.
Okay.
It's called Journeys North, and talk about feeling like you're right there in the moment on the trail. I mean, it was pretty epic.
Dude, you're giving me the goosebumps right now. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that he wrote a book, and I know who he is. Like, he's kind of the guy that like invites the people in and does that at the by San Diego there and stuff. And dude, sweet. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Write that down.
So I'm looking through the hiking resume that you sent over, and I don't see a long trail on here. I mean, JMT is 211 miles, but I don't see a Pacific Crest Trail. I don't see an Appalachian Trail, Continental Divide Trail. Any interest in? I see how you light up when you're talking about it. Any interest in eventually doing a long trail or multiple long trails?
Yeah, don't let my work hear this, but yeah, no, I've been planning. I have the money to do it. I can do it if I want to. It's all about, I've told myself I'm going to do it within it's going to be 2 to 4 years for sure. And the number one is going to be the PCT. That's the one I want to do. That's the one that kind of feels home to me. I don't know if I have that much interest in the AT, just because it's kind of like a green tunnel from what I see, but probably people could correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, I kind of see that with Oregon a lot of times. The CDT for sure. The Colorado Trail. Yes. So those really get me going. So next 2 to 4 years, Chadahooche is going to be on the PCT. And my stunning girlfriend that I just got, which Haley, I'm shouting her out, so I've got to keep that in there. She's down with it. Yeah,
right now.
Yeah, right. Nope, she's not listening yet, but she will be in March. But yeah, she's down with me doing it at some point. So that's a big deal too. So yeah.
Well, a couple things there. One is obviously Mac from Halfway Anywhere is rubbed off on you because he's not a big AT fan. I don't know if you listen to that episode. He's like no interest in doing the AT. His website, as you know, only has the PCT and the CDT on it, resources and you know information about those. I'm like, where's the AT? And he's like, oh no, I've got no interest in doing the AT. And so I have a prediction though. If you do the PCT
Mm-hmm.
and if you do the CDT,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be weighing on you. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm only one trail away from being a triple crowner. You know, I think if you do those two first, you might be pulled into doing the AT.
Yeah, you already know me too well. I would do it at that point for sure. Yeah, I would have to. Why wouldn't I? Yeah, you'd have to complete it to be a triple crowner. That'd be sweet. Yeah.
And Haley, is she also a hiker?
She is, and we got some hikes planned for later in this summer. She's working up to this mailbox peak in the North Cascades, so we've been doing some hikes and planning them, and so I think it's gonna be a good summer with her as well. So it's kind of fun, like progressing with someone else as well. So to do it, yeah.
Well, tell her to pause or not listen to this section of the episode. Are you gonna try and get her hooked so that you can get her on the PCT with you?
She actually is like, well, when we first met, she's like, okay, I have a confession. I'm not that big of a camper. Like, I'm more of a day hiker. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. Like, I can just go do my own thing and I can see some more front country stuff with you. Like, that's, you know, because I probably wouldn't do it anyway. So, like, yeah, that works.
Well, it's just a series of day hikes strung together over the course of months.
You're right. Exactly. I'll explain it to her that way too. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit, you said, don't let your job hear about this discussion of the PCT. What is it that you do to earn money and fund your adventures?
Yeah. So I actually work for Yamhill County. I work for the parole and probation department. But what I do is I do cognitive behavioral therapy type work. So I'm actually working with people that come out on parole and probation, and their POs will send them over to me, and then I kind of just help them kind of fix, I don't want to say fix things, but kind of like change their perceptions, change their philosophy on how to view the world and stuff like that, and so that they're not out committing crimes, really, to be honest with you. So yeah, so anyway, I'm very fortunate to get a lot of time off with them. So yeah, like I got, you know, a couple weeks off for the JMT. That was awesome. And, you know, all paid. And so for right now, it's awesome. It really does work. But when you think about something every day, you know, like the PCT or something like that, you're eventually, and if you never do it, like you're going to resent yourself and wherever you're working. So I got to do it. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah.
That sounds like an episode all in itself right there. Stories.
Yeah, I do, man. Yeah, we had a lot of good stories, and you know, fortunately, right now we're all remote, like, you know, kind of like what we're doing right now. So, although, like, you know, I couldn't figure out the Zoom meeting because we do Teams, Microsoft Teams. I'm just kidding, but yeah, no, it's a good gig.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, Chadahooche and I were looking at each other and mouthing words. We couldn't hear each other, but we got it figured out. So here we are.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about some of the adventures you've gone on.
Yes.
Where would you like to start with this?
Well, I guess probably with my first section hike, probably would probably be the best place to start. So yeah, after reading that book, I was like, okay. So at first I was just like, I'm just going to do like this 100-mile section hike, and I'm just going to, you know, 100 miles is a lot to me. And I was like, if I can do this is going to be mind blowing. Right. And so I'm like, I'm going to do it solo. Like, you know, I don't need any help, blah, 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 whatever. So I go out and, first of all, I take the wrong turn out of the trailhead. I'm in this like ski area, the Willamette Pass ski area. I took a left instead of a right. I was already, dude, literally like 5 minutes into the trail. I'm like, whoa. Anyway, I camped that night at this place called Bobby Lake. Beautiful lake, storm rolling in. I was like, shoot, like I'm under these trees, you know, it's kind of like, I was like, there's mosquitoes everywhere. I'm like, dude, what is going, like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, right? And this older gentleman rolls up, and I'm like, where did this guy even come from? And he's all eccentric, you know, and I'm like, what's up, man? And he's like, hey, I'm Salty Dog. And I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. And, you know, I think he's
Did you understand the concept of trail names at that point?
A little bit, but like not. I was like,
You've never had
not
anybody
no.
introduce themselves as Salty Dog or
Yeah, no. I was kind of
Please
like,
or
right. That was like kind of my first interaction with like an actual like legit thru hiker.
Mhm.
And so we started talking, and he is 68 years old. He thru hiked the AT at 65, and now he's finishing up his section from California to Canada on the PCT because he got hurt last year on the PCT. So I randomly meet him, right? Awesome guy. But I'm like, well, I'm going to leave him in the dust the next day. We wake up the next day, beautiful morning, sun's coming up, and we start hiking together. This dude's out hiking me at 68, just a stud, right? And so anyway, we hiked like the rest of the days together. We experienced rain, thunderstorms, snow, mosquito, like everything, this whole gamut of things. And I learned so much from this guy. I mean, it was like having a mentor that you were with, 24 hours a day for 6 or 7 days or however long it was. And my learning just increased exponentially. The biggest thing that I learned was like how to be efficient on trail. I was so inefficient, dude. Like I didn't have pockets on my backpack for whatever reason. And so every time I was hungry, which was all the time, I would have to take off my bag, go into the lid, open up the lid, da-da-da-da-da. And, he just like little things like that, man, that I would learn to do along the way. It just opened up a lot of things for me. So that was the first thing that I did. And then like a week later, I was like, well, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to do longer, and I'm going to pick up where I was. So I do 150 miles from Santiam Pass to Washington State. And, Salty was off trail, or well, he was on trail, but ahead of me at that time. So I had to meet some new people. But yeah, and so then I finished that and again was hooked, already trying to figure out what I was going to do next year after that. So yeah.
So that was it a summer that you were doing this?
Yeah, this was in the summer.
So that summer you did 250 miles on the PCT through Oregon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And you touched on it a little bit in your discussion here. You said it wasn't what you expected. So I want to hear from you, the preparation that you did, what you expected it to be like, and what did you run into? I mean, yeah. I know the wrong turn, I know the mosquitoes, but yeah. I know that as we're looking forward to something, we're doing all this research, we have in our minds what it's going to be like, and then we get out there and it's totally different.
It's totally different. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, you watch the videos, and all that, and a lot of times they're really portraying the positive side of the hiking, which is great. And, my videos do that a lot too. And so I think you have that in your mind, and I think it's easy to discount when they're going through some crap, mm-hmm. and you're not really feeling that when you're watching the videos either. So you're really focusing on that positive stuff. And so when you get out there, you think it's going to be all rainbows and butterflies and stars and mountains and, icy streams and, all this magical stuff. But in reality, everybody would do this. But the problem is nobody, once you get out there and experience all the things that come with it, like, because there's a pros and cons to it, right? Like you have to give a little something to be out there to experience that. And so I think, that's what I just wasn't ready for. I wasn't ready for all those little weird things that pop up when you're out there for an extended period of time. It's easy to do when you're on an overnighter because you're just like, oh, I'll deal with this for a night and then I'll be good, right? Mm-hmm. But with this one, like on my second day, I was chafing so bad. And you know how that, I mean, you can't even like walk. Like you literally cannot walk. And thank God I brought Body Glide. I might actually change my gear to that. I brought Body Glide, but dude, I was laying in my tent and I was like, I don't think I'm going to make this. And I told everybody I was going to do this. You have all this pressure, right? And you're laying there like, what am I going to say? I chafed between my thighs. But, it's just these things that you don't think of and nobody really tells you. It's hard to research prior before you actually experience it. So,
yeah, there's not a lot of chafing websites out there. So I think our listeners are going to appreciate, for our first time hikers out there, people who are tuning in thinking, I want to do this. They now know about the dangers of chafing. So,
oh my God,
well done.
Dude,
well done.
So bad. You always carry Body Glide on you. It literally saved my whole hike. I was 100% the next day. It was great. Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned videos. Do you have I've seen your Instagram account. Do you have a YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, dude. I actually did a 14 series chapter series on the JMT,
Oh,
and
I gotta
I've
check
been
that
getting
out.
some really, yeah, dude. I've been getting some really good responses off of it. Just uploaded a video like 10 things I learned on the JM or wish I knew before the JMT. That one's been doing really well. Getting some good comments on it and things. So yeah, my YouTube channels. I really enjoy creating videos almost as much as I like hiking. So yeah.
Okay, and now you mentioned it. I have to pin you down on it. What are the 10 things that you wish you knew before you hiked the JMT?
Oh my God. Well, now you're putting me on. I can't remember them all.
Oh,
I well, I did write an article for the Trek as well that kind of outlines some of this, and actually, I think I actually have this up in the background. Okay, do you want to hear them?
I do want to hear
This
them.
is
Our listeners
okay.
want to hear them.
Okay, this is actually well, okay. So this is actually 9 things I learned on the JMT, but my video was 10, and I can't remember the 10th. So
Okay.
okay, so number 1 is altitude is no joke. Number 2, just buy those silly looking gators.
Okay, well, let's not just
Okay.
list them. I want a little bit of
Okay.
explanation with each one. So altitude
Okay.
is no joke. When did you realize this on the trail?
Dude, the first day, so freaking when I told you I met Mac, right? He's like, dude, you gotta get to Guitar Lake today, or somewhere around there. And I'm like, okay, dude, like, yeah, we'll see how I'm feeling, you know. Oh my God, man! By the end of that day, I barely made it to Crabtree Meadows. I rolled up in there, and dude, I was feeling so bad. I couldn't eat. Like I was so hungry, and like I just couldn't eat. And I just like went to bed. I had a headache, terrible. I wake up the next day, beautiful day. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go climb Whitney. So 14,500 feet. Why not? Because I felt amazing. I felt great. Get up to Whitney. I'm dying on Whitney. Of course, there's the 1.9 from Trail Crest to the summit, right? Oh, what do I bring? Half liter of water. I'm like, it's only 1.9 miles. Oh my God, I was dying, dude. I get up to the top. I call my mom. She's like, "Are you drunk?" I'm like slurring my words. My buddy's like, "You don't look so good. We better get down." So I get down, and I'm laying in my tent that day, or that night again at Crabtree Meadows, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to feel like this every single day. You know, I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, but if I can get through this feeling, I can complete the trail, you know? Because it was like the thing on the first section hike. Like I told everybody I was going to do this. I posted about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not going to let those people that didn't think I could do this win, right? You know, so that played in there. But you
published it. You put it out in the universe that you were going to do something.
Yeah.
Now that pressure's on you. Just like at the beginning of this episode, you published out into the universe that you're going to be doing the PCT.
I did. You're right.
The pressure's on.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. Heck yeah. I love that, man.
All right. So altitude is no joke. All right. Second one.
Let's see what we got here. Okay. So I have just buy those silly looking gaiters. So I don't know if you wear gaiters or not, like, you know, those little ankle things, but dude, like I always thought prior to the JMT, I would see people wearing them and I was like, what are, like, I don't know, they're silly. You know, of course, again, God, it sounds like all I did on the JMT was talk to Mac, I guess, but I was talking to Mac on the first day and I noticed he had gaiters and I'm like, dude, like, I think I really screwed up, like, not bringing these, because, like, that first, I mean, I don't even know how many miles it is, but, like, you're in a sandbox, and it's just, you know, I wear those Ultras, and the back thing is flipping stuff into your shoe, and you're like, dude, you're emptying out your shoes every 2 miles. You're like, you got 3 pounds in there, and so anyway, that's something that I would definitely do, and I have now gotten my gaiters, and I always wear them. So,
okay, very good.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, number 3 kind of goes off of that gear thing was, okay, so Burt's Bees lip balm sucks. So basically I was an idiot and I brought lip balm that didn't have SPF chaps or stuff in it. So it was just regular lip balm. My lips got so incredibly chapped, like to the point where I had to lick them like off of my mouth every morning. I know, dude. Pretty romantic, right? Like it was bad. I had to eat like a burger with a fork once I got to VVR. It was terrible.
Yeah, Haley, if you're listening, make sure he brings the SPF lip balm.
Dude, seriously, straight up. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so number 4, this one was a big one for me. So the JMT is extremely exposed, right? I mean, even, you have a background of that lake there in, I forget where it was again, but
Evolution Lake.
Mm-hmm. So everywhere on the JMT was extremely exposed. I'm used to like Oregon, right, where it's kind of a green tunnel. You're shaded a lot. I mean, it can get hot, but you're kind of shaded a lot. You're not really above tree line. I mean, you're above tree line for so much of the JMT, right?
Yep.
And that really wore me down. I'm not that good in hot weather. I'm striving to get better, but the sun really wore me down. I didn't anticipate it being that dry and like that. Just it's the sun is stronger at those higher elevations too. It just beat into you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like having some kind of sun gear, long sleeve shirt for sure.
Yeah.
So that was a big one.
Okay.
I have number 5. So that one is say goodbye to Google. So basically what I mean by that is there's no service on this trail anywhere. I mean, I think I had service at the top of Mount Whitney when I was like allegedly drunk, and then near Red's Meadow, and then Yosemite. Mm-hmm. But for, frickin' 12 days, I didn't have any service. Me and my buddy, what was it? I'm reading it here. Oh yeah, we kept arguing the meaning of the war of attrition, and we couldn't Google it to see like what it meant. So we're like both arguing with each other, and like we couldn't figure it out. But so I didn't realize it was going to be that desolate and void of service, but it was pretty cool. So
it was like you were back in the 90s and you did not have the internet in your pocket.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude.
Yeah,
it was absolutely crazy. Every time I would summon a pass, I'd be like, oh, look, nothing, no bars, just dead. I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. So yeah, so that was funny. Okay, so this is a good one. So number 6, you're not gonna hike as fast as you think. So, prior to the JMT, I'm sitting there, I'm screwing around with my itinerary. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hike 20 miles here, and you know what? I'm gonna feel pretty good here, so I'm gonna hike like 23. And I'm in my air-conditioned room. I'm in my shorts. I'm lounging. But dude, once you get on boots on the ground, it's totally different. And just the sheer terrain of the JMT, especially compared to where I hike in the Cascades. Mm-hmm. Toughest hiking I've ever done for sure, just because it was so rocky. Even like your descents would take a long time because they were steep and rocky, and you had to find your footing. And so, yeah, it was tough hiking. It was tough hiking.
Yeah, Chadahooche. What is your hiking speed on flat terrain at like 6,000 feet?
Well, I just got a GPS watch, so I could probably tell you that this summer. But I think it's like probably. I think it's only like 2.5 miles an hour, and I think it's because I'm always kind of screwing around with videos, and I'm like, I have to walk backwards, and then I'm like coming back or whatever. So I think it's like around there. I'm like not that fast of a hiker.
Yeah, I try to tell people that even in the best conditions with a pack on your back, you're probably doing at best 3 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you throw in altitude, if you're hiking on a flat path at altitude, you're going to be slower than that because there's just not enough air. There's not enough oxygen in the atmosphere there for you. And then if you're going up or if you're going down a severe down, you're doing a lot less than that. I remember being under pack at altitude doing an incline and happy with a mile an hour.
Yes, absolutely. So. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because so much of the JMT is like above 10,000 feet too, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. And that is high, man. When I would get down to like 9,500 feet, I'd be like, wow, this is cake. Like, this is great. You know what I mean? I'd be like, this is a treat, man. And, but yeah, totally right. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not as fast as you think.
Not as fast as you think. Okay. Number 7, this was a good one. So I went during the middle of July and then ended right before August. So for me, it stormed every single day except for 2 days, and that was when I was near Yosemite Valley. yeah, I didn't anticipate that. I mean, my third day, I was camped near the Forester Pass approach, and I elected to camp a little early because storms were rolling in. And you'll see on like the video that if you watch them, just battering my tent, just wind and it was funny. Like you'd hear people coming southbound, and we'd swap storm stories. Like, oh, you were in that one. Oh yeah, and like you'd get up to the top of a pass sometimes. Because sometimes I would just learn to take a gamble. I was just like, screw it. Like I got cloud cover. This is actually pretty nice, But you'd see like all these pods of clouds around, right? And it would be in this basin here, but not this one, and all that kind of stuff. You'd hear thunder, and but it never ceased to not happen. I mean, it was always like from 1 o'clock to like 4 o'clock, and every time, man, 12 of 14 days. Yeah.
Wow, that is nuts.
Yeah.
And so what is number 7 then? It's going to rain more than you think, or what did you wish you knew?
Oh, well, it was like it may storm every single day. So that was all it is. Really, really enticing and thought provoking.
When in doubt, use your rain fly.
Yes, exactly. No, seriously, my buddy did that. We were waiting at the ferry for VVR, and rainstorm came up. He threw his rain fly over him. Yeah, real talk. Number 8. Okay, second to last one. So it doesn't get exponentially easier after Vermilion Valley Resort. So I was going northbound, and everything that I heard was, oh, like after VVR, it's going to get way easier, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. And I still had like, I don't know, 100 miles or 90 miles left or something like that, And I'm thinking it's just going to be cake, which, I mean, relative to the first part of the JMT where you're Forester, Whitney, and all that kind of stuff, it was. But like, I got it in my mind that this was going to be like a cakewalk, like it was going to be easy. And it just wasn't. Like, there was a lot of gain still to go for northbounders. And I calculated it out. It was still like 1,000 more than the southbounders. Because I was like, God, it feels like all I'm doing is climbing these last few days. But so don't let your guard down if you're going northbound out of VVR. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Expectations versus reality again.
If
you look at the map and you say, okay, here are the high passes, and it's all downhill from here. Hey, reality check. It is not all downhill.
Dude.
Every day you'll be going uphill at some point.
That's exactly what you had commented in PJ's podcast, right? Because he's like, it's like kind of like downhill from Whitney, and you're like, no, dude, like you still got uphill. Like, but I get what he's saying. Like, and that's kind of how I thought about it too in my itinerary. I was like, oh yeah, like no, yeah. So, okay. So the last one I had was, let's see. It was basically, I don't even know if this one makes sense, but it was trail legs and trail hardiness don't just magically appear. So what I learned from that first section hike with Salty Dog was like all about like kind of trail hardiness. I don't know if I'm making up a word or not, but it was just the fact that like you have to expose yourself to this stuff to get mentally tough, and once you keep pushing your comfort zone, what you thought was hard is now easy, and now you're going on to your next thing, right? And so like you need to, like for me, it like happens, like it switches kind of like day 3. I'm like, okay, now I'm in like, I'm dirty, I'm smelly, right? And like, I'm not civilized like I was on day 1. I don't feel like it anyway, right? And so now I feel like the switch is turned, and I can, now I can actually roll out and encounter some of this tough stuff that I need to get done. And one of the things that he talked about too was like, Salty Dog was like, when you are on a through hike, you don't want to spend too much time in town because you can get soft. And so like when I was at VVR, I just took a Nero that day, went to VVR, was out the next day, didn't want to stick around. I loved it. It was great to shower after 9 days, but like I just wanted to get back on trail and get back in the groove.
Right. I think there is definitely a mental component to this whole through hiking business, and that your mental endurance is just as important, if not more important, than the physical endurance.
Yep.
And I've heard, I do some running. I think you're also a runner from, I think you've done some ultras, but one of the tips I heard early on as I was getting into running is never stop running. Never give in to a little minor ache or pain until you're at least a half an hour into your run. You kind of,
That's good.
you give your head the chance to, and your body to get, acclimated to this. And
Warmed up. Yeah. And yeah, I like that.
Same thing with through hiking. You can't give up after, 2 days. You got to stick with it. And on that third day, I agree. I think that's a really, really nice way of putting it, is there's a switch in your head that kind of flips at some point, and you're like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yep, I'm doing it. Yep.
This is what it is.
Yeah, I almost think, to your point about the physical and mental prep, right? Like, I think, yeah, you can be physically fit, right? And, dude, I know probably just from the Facebook groups and people that I know, I could probably count like 8 to 10 people that I just know that quit the JMT, right? And it wasn't a physical thing. It was a total mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like preparing physically is very, very smart, especially for injury prevention. And I actually have a YouTube video that I just filmed that's coming out in a couple weeks on that. Like, huge, right? Like, but the mental side of it, man, is so important. And that there's a book by Zach Davis, The Pacific Crest Trials. I don't know if you ever checked that one out.
I haven't seen that one, no.
It's a really good one. Zach Davis is like the owner of the trek. So Pacific Crest Trials, and he talks about like you have to have a why, right? And make a list of like what will happen if I don't complete this, what will happen if I do, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Same with running, man. Same with running.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
okay. Hey, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get into if you have any more highlights from your JMT hike from earlier this year, or actually it's last year now, right? It's 2020. And we'll go on to some of your other adventures. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're talking to Chadahooche, who just talked about the 9 things that he wished he would have known before hiking the JMT. Some very good points there. All of them solid pro tips. You're going to have to come up with something else, though, when we get to the end of the episode. Sorry to tell you.
I got a good one.
Okay. Very good. Now, any other highlights from the JMT you want to share with the listeners out there? What was your favorite campsite or your favorite view on the trail?
Yes.
Anything at all you want to share with other folks out there?
Great question. So what is the lake? It starts with an R, and I think it's right over. Well, if you're going northbound, it's right over Selden Pass. It's those lakes in there, like Ray. No, it's not Ray Lakes. It's
Marie Lakes.
Marie Lakes. Okay, It's Marie Lakes. So that was one of my favorite campsites, and it was because when I woke up in the morning, it was super cool. I wake up in the morning, and like the alpine glow, like from the sun in the morning, is actually hitting like the back mountains in the background, right? And so it's kind of, they're all lit up and they're kind of orange and stuff. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like just packing up my gear, and all of a sudden I think that there's kids yelling, like on a jungle gym or something, right? And I'm literally looking all around, right? And this is at like, I don't know, 11,000 feet, 12,000, I don't know what it is up there. And I'm looking all around, man, and they're coyotes just howling their face off next to the backdrop of those mountains. Super, super cool, man. So that I have a little video of it. You can just hear them yipping and yowling and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was the weirdest thing at like 11,000 feet. Like, why would they be up there? I don't know.
That sounds like an epic moment. Coyotes howling at Marie Lakes.
Yes. Yep. That was awesome. And then I think another great campsite was Grouse Meadows. And there was actually grouse there, like a mom and a couple little grouse. But my favorite all-time place that I walked through, at least, was Evolution Valley. And it was when you actually got into the valley. I love that. So just walking through there, I like to get an early start in the mornings. And so when I was walking through there, there's just all these animals. These big giant mule deer are everywhere, and fawns and does, and you got the stream and the sun's coming up, and it was epic. I loved Evolution Valley. It was awesome. And there's the little ranger cabin there. It was so cool, man.
Yeah, beautiful. I've got a picture that I took during our 2015 hike of Chopper and Buddy, my 2 hiking companions. as they were standing on the trail looking out at McClure Meadow, and they had no idea that I was taking the picture. But you can tell from that picture, it's a panorama, and they just happened to be in the end of the panorama when I finished.
Oh, sick.
You can see them just like awestruck looking at McClure Meadow. It's just, it kind of conveys the majesty that sometimes doesn't come through just your average pictures. You know,
No.
You take pictures out there and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And you come back and you show your family and your friends and they're like, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm like, oh no, it's not just nice. You can't. No, you don't understand.
You don't get it, dude. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. I always feel like including somebody, like a subject in the picture, but if you can get a facial expression with that too, or some kind of looking off in the distance, yeah, right on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned earlier about Salty Dog and him kind of teaching you some tricks and becoming more efficient on the trail. We heard about that with your food management in the day, but also you talk about when you get up in the morning and when you come into camp, what are some of your efficiencies that you use when you're breaking camp in the morning? When you get up, and what does it look like in the morning? What is your routine out there on the trail? And then same thing when you get into camp and you say, okay, I'm stopping here for the night. What procedures do you go through? I think it'd be really helpful for some of our listeners who are thinking, this is something I want to do. I'm going to kind of give them a little insight into some of the efficiencies that are really helpful on the trail.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great question. So when I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is, basically I'm cold, right? And it's like the last thing you want to do is get out of your sleeping bag, but you just got to will yourself out of there, right? And I try to wake up, especially on the JMT, like as the sun's rising or before the sun's rising, because again, the exposure. So once that sun starts coming, it's cold in the morning, whatever, but I can deal with that. But once the sun crests the ridges and gets into the valley or wherever you're at, it's automatically hot. You're throwing off layers and whatever. So I try to get an early jump on it, which a lot of people that I saw, nothing wrong with it. Well, besides I wouldn't do it, but they would start at like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock and then they would be done at 4. And it was just like, okay, but you're not like, whatever. So I like to get my miles in early so I didn't have to deal with the heat. So like I would wake up and first thing I do is just undo my sleeping pad, and I'm on it still. So it's like kind of deflating right now. Mm-hmm. And so I like roll that up. I get myself out of the sleeping bag as early as possible because it kind of provides a little jolt from the cold. Right. And so I do all this while I'm just still enclosed in my tent though. I used to because I saw Salty Dog do this. Like I used to get out of my tent and I'm like doing all this. I don't know what I was doing, like taking down my tent I don't know what I was doing. So I started packing up my sleep system first. I would just stuff my sleeping bag. Okay, boom, I'd put it in the bottom of the pack, sleeping pad, my sleeping pillow, whatever. And then what I did for breakfast, and this changed too. So to be more efficient, I love coffee. And if I'm doing an overnighter or something, I treat myself with coffee. But when I'm trying to do some miles, I have this Mio Caffeine Energy. And so I'll just squirt it in my mouth or just squirt it in the bottle or something like that. And that's my caffeine. So I don't have to sit there screwing around, monkeying around with coffee. And that's 10, 15 minutes right there. So I'll do that. And then for breakfast, I usually just do a bar or I'll do a cold soak of oatmeal. And I'll just eat it on the run. So yeah, basically I just pack my sleep system. I pack everything else, tents down, and then I'm eating on the run and drinking caffeine on the run. And again, I love to hike in the mornings. I'm a morning person. You hear the birds, the sun's pretty, great for pictures. See a lot of animal activity at that time, so it's amazing.
Yeah, good point. So from the point you wake up in the morning to the point where you're on the trail and making miles for the day, how much time has elapsed?
Great question. Probably at least 8 hours.
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. From the moment you get up in the morning till you're on the trail.
Oh, okay.
When you get ready in the morning, how long does that take you to break?
Yeah, 8 hours. No, yeah, 8 hours, dude.
All right.
No. That's a great question, dude. You're full of good questions today. I think what I would do is I would try to wake up, if I remember, at 5:30, 5:40-ish, and I would always try to get going before 6:20. So, and obviously the more you do it, the more efficient you become with it. So I think I was waking up at 5:40, getting off by at first it was 6:30, then it became like 6:15, that kind of stuff. And the sun comes up super early in the morning, so yeah, I kind of got to do it that way. So
yeah. Morning miles are the best. 'Cause you're right, it's nice and cool. And typically, what on the John Muir Trail, what we always tried to do is we tried to camp
below the pass.
Below the pass, and so that in the morning, you're up and over the pass by 8 a.m., 8:30, and you're heading downhill, which makes for a great day. But
see, you're smart. Dude, I would like get over the pass, and I would just, I don't know, I would just like camp in the valley. I love to camp in the valleys for whatever reason, and then I'd be up and over the pass in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, dude, what am I doing? So that's a great strategy.
Yeah,
yeah.
And Chadahooche, congratulations! You are the first guest on the pod to admit that they are a cold soaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't had a cold soaker before, so
no kidding.
Our listeners may not know what that's all about. What is cold soaking? What's that all about?
Yeah, so I'll admit I only cold soak breakfast.
Okay.
So I'm like a 50% cold soaker.
Got it.
Essentially I love oatmeal. I eat oatmeal every day, but I don't do the little the instant packets. I try to avoid like the sugar and stuff. So I make my own actually in a Ziploc bag, and I put in chia seeds and all that other stuff. Boom, boom, boom. And so I just throw in water. I just do the old fashioned oats, and it's like 2 minutes, and you're good. You can eat it and just throw it in your mouth. And so, you don't need to cook it. You don't need to clean your pan. You don't need to fire up the fuel. You can save fuel, which is amazing, right? And but I need to have my hot dinners. Are you a cold soaker?
I am not a cold soaker, but I have read about cold soakers, and I congratulate you on making the distinction that you're just a 50% cold soaker.
I'm a 50%er, dude. Right. Yeah, I'm not a 1%er.
You're right. The people who do cold soak dinners, those are a different breed. Those are some
hardcore, man.
Hardcore is right. I mean, these are the people that are drilling holes in their toothbrushes to make sure that they're carrying as little weight as possible. They have said, you know what, I'm going to eat cold food for if they're doing the JMT, I'm going to eat cold food for 2 weeks. If they're on the PCT, I'm going to eat cold food for 5 months, right? Yep. So just so that I don't have to carry a stove and the fuel.
Dude, yeah, it's like you gotta have. For me, I gotta have some comforts, like as minimal as they seemingly are. I met a guy on my second section hike of the PCT. His name was School Bus, and him and his family actually lived in a school bus. It was pretty dope. There was actually a reality, or he was on MTV or something about it. I don't know. Anyway, regardless, he did cold soaking, and I guess what they really like are those Talente ice cream little thingamajigs. That's the gold standard of where to put your cold soak stuff in. So you get these little ice cream things, and he would 2 hours before dinner, he would shove it in the back part of his pack, so the sun would kind of hit it and warm it up a little bit, and he'd mix it like that. It's just
cold. The difference between cold soaking and eating hot food. Eating hot food, I mean, you're boiling the water and you're pouring the water into the food packet, right? And you're letting it sit for 8 minutes?
Right.
Cold soak, it takes a lot longer than 8 minutes. You gotta do an hour before you're gonna eat.
Yeah.
Put it all together, and then you're still eating cold stuff.
Cold stuff. But you know what the comforting thing is that if you do run out of fuel, you can do that.
Right.
I mean, but you need a kind of a certain container to do it. If you don't have that, it's just got to be longer sort of thing, But it is comforting to know that you can do that, because I'm always, I always used to be really afraid of running out of fuel. Now I'm like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I can still get through it,
Right. Good point. Yeah. So we went down a little side trail there. I also want to hear about your efficiencies when you decide, okay, this is it for the day. I'm camping here. You roll into camp and you say, this is the place. Take us through your procedures when you decide to stop hiking.
The biggest way I think people can save time here, and this is an easy one, but a lot of times you're not thinking like that because you're so damn tired.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're just exhausted, and all you want to do is just sleep, right? But I think the best thing to do is get out your cooking stuff first. And so I like to boil my water, and then I like to do those Nor rice sides. So I'll just pour my water in the Nor rice sides bag, actually now is what I started doing, or just in my little tin cup, and I'll get that, or while it's boiling, at least I'll start doing my camp, setting up my camp and stuff like that, you know, and it sucks because you're hungry, right? Like you just want to do it when you're after you're hungry, but it saves you time, so you don't have to sit there watching this water boil, you know. So set up my camp and try to get him do sleeping bag, let the sleeping bag unfold because it's all compressed too, so it's not going to be as warm, you know. If you get right in right away, you got to let it, you know, fluff up a little bit. And meanwhile, then once the water is all done, you know, you pour it in the rice. And so yeah, so I just do the cooking on the side while I'm doing my tent setup, and you know, by the time I'm done setting up my tent, I can eat. And then at that point, honestly, that's pretty much it. I just go right to bed. Like I am out. I mean, it's hard to stay up.
Yeah.
Like I cannot ever see stars at night in the summer because I can't freaking stay up that late.
That is exactly it. You beat me to the punch. I was just going to say that one of the things I talk about reality versus or expectation versus reality. I'm going to see these amazing stars. It's going to be just fantastic out there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. I was just
Never.
exhausted. And that's why, you know, everybody's heard of the term hiker midnight. I mean, hiker midnight is
9 o'clock, baby.
9
right?
o'clock. And that is late on the trail.
It really is, man. And I will tell you what, well, two things. Number one, I downloaded on my phone, I downloaded like this night sky app that I could like take these cool like panoramic pictures. I couldn't even see the first star of the night I was out, dude. And then it's like, the other thing is it's hard when you start getting towards Yosemite Valley and some of those like places, right? At least know about. Did you go southbound or northbound?
Actually, I sectioned hikes. So I started in the middle, did the south in one fell swoop, and then I started in the middle and ended up doing the north half over a couple of summers. Oh, there you go. That's freaking awesome. Honestly, that's the best way to experience like everything instead of just like rushing through it like I pretty much did. Like anyway, but when I got north to Yosemite, maybe you experienced this too, but like hiker midnight kind of really isn't a thing when you kind of are more near civilization, it doesn't seem like, right? Like, or when I do the TRT this summer, like I was noting that there's a couple places where it's like a drive-in campground, and I'm like, oh my God, I avoid that like the plague because people are partying and it's like, no. Yeah. So hiker midnight. When we got to Tuolumne Meadows and we started smelling people on the trail, it smelled. Yes. We thought, oh, we don't want to be here too long. Dude, I describe that to people that like haven't thru hiked, and they're like, what do you mean you smell people? I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. It's just like they smell clean. It's like linen. It's like just the greatest thing ever, man. By the way, I think hiker midnight, I got to coin that as a term for some kind of something. I think that's amazing. I think you just sparked my thing there. Maybe we should co-host a podcast called Hiker Midnight. Right there, right on, man. And it can't be too late in the night though, right? Nice. Okay. So thank you very much for sharing your kind of routine in the morning and also in the evening when you come into camp. I think that's really helpful for folks to know. When you finished the JMT, was that it for the summer? Did you have other adventures out there? And I know the answer to the question. That's why I asked it. Very good. So finished the JMT, right? And, might have got broken up with as I was flying back from Reno. That was great. So that just kind of catapulted me to make the most of my summer, which was awesome. So I actually wouldn't have had it any other way. So before you go on to your next adventure, was she on the JMT with you? No. So she was back home in Oregon, and you don't really, I had an inReach, but like I could barely communicate on that freaking thing. It was like texting dinosaurs in the Stone Age. And so kind of communicated there, but yeah, so she was back home the whole time. And Reno Airport, man. Oh, ouch. We've talked about before, when you're on the trail with a significant other, there is no hiding. You're out there 24/7. You see the best and the worst of folks out there. It is what it is. There's no hiding things out on the trail. And so I was going to ask if she saw the true you, but evidently she appreciated your absence. And said, hey, that get used to this. Straight up, man. It's like, oh, he quit bothering me. Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chattahoochee.
So,
Sorry to hear about that.
it's all good, man. It's all good. So, yeah. So, man, I just went on a tear. The week I got back, I threw like the Timberline Trail. So that's around Mount Hood near Portland there. Beautiful. I loved that terrain. It was just really green, verdant green. It was tons of wildflowers. There was a bunch of stream crossings. Great trail if you're ever up in the area to do it. I loved it. And then did some like overnighters, guided some people, guided my brother and his buddy on a couple overnighters that have never went before. That was an experience. That was interesting. And then
now explain that to me. Guided. Use that word very specifically. It's not like you said, I went with my brother on a trip. You said guided. So what does that imply? What does that term mean?
Well, I like to think I'm like the modern day Kit Carson or something, right? No, but no. So he lives in Minnesota right now, and his brother is in Wisconsin. So he brought his buddy with him, and so I took him out on a couple day a couple nights camping trip, and dude, they had a great time. It was like your typical, like I'm like, hey, you don't need that, like just I'm talking to my brother, and actually he minded me pretty well. His buddy was a little like kind of not really like. He's like bushcraft guy over here bringing axes and swords and shit. And I'm like, dude, like you probably don't need this stuff. And he's going to bring it anyways and never used it, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a fun experience, like guiding them through and stuff like that. But yes.
So when you refer to yourself as a guide, that's a self-appointed title?
Yes.
Based on your expertise on the JMT.
Expertise, skills.
You to guide others out into nature.
Yes, that's me. Maybe my trail name should be Guide.
Could be.
I don't know. Maybe.
And you also made a point about your brother's friend who brought all this extra stuff.
Oh, dude.
We all have had somebody with us on the trail that has brought way too much, and you're like, hey, you don't need that. You're not gonna use that, and they don't believe you, and they hike with it for a day,
dude.
And I don't know about what your experience was, but we had a friend go out with us who, he's a big guy. He's 6'4", 6'5", former professional athlete. He had a pack that probably weighed 60 pounds and towered over him. I mean, his pack was probably 8 foot high off of the ground.
Yep.
Top of the pack. And after the first night, when we broke camp the second morning, there was a lot of stuff that he left to sacrificed to the trail gods and to whoever was going to come through had the advantage of picking up a pillow, some towels, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, we tried to tell him, but he had it in his mind that he was going to need all that stuff.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's hard. I have not figured out the way to, because I've taken some people now, a good amount of people, but I haven't.
You've guided them.
I've guided them.
Mm-hmm.
I am the guide. But I've had trouble. I don't know if it's the way I come across or what it is, but like when you're trying to explain to them why you don't need it, it's like, I don't know. They just like don't believe me. And I'm just like, but I think you pack your fears, right? And so
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and because his buddy brought a freaking bear rattle, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I mean, okay, look, if I was in Montana, Wyoming, grizzly bears, I'm not that, scared of black bears. Maybe I should be, but like, I'm just not. And but because he's never been here, so that was the thing to bring. It's a bear rattle.
What? I've never heard of a bear rattle. What is a bear rattle?
It was just basically something that like rattles as you're walking, so you can imagine how annoying that was.
Oh. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
anyway,
you come back from the JMT, you find out that you're single, and head out on the Timberline Trail. That was how long a trip was that?
So the Timberline, I actually got done in like 2 days. I think was all. I think that was all it took me. I had my trail legs, and again, that trail compared to the JMT was like a freshly manicured. Yeah, oh my God! I was at the spa trail. Like it was so nice. So I did that, guided some people, and then did the Wallowa River Loop, which is an amazing loop in the Eagle Cap Wilderness in Northeast Oregon.
Okay. So this is all in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, this is all in the Pacific Northwest, and that was an experience that I didn't know that it was going to snow that day. So yeah, I basically went. I mean, it was so freaking cold. Like there was nobody out there. It was late September, and I'm out there, and I go to sleep next to this lake, and like all night, I can just hear like it's you're getting precipitation, and it's windy, and it's like and then like the precipitation turns to snow, so you're like hearing it like against your tent, your winds, it's flapping and whatever. Of course, I get out of my tent to take a leak, and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, oh shit, dude, like I'm actually going to be camping in snow tonight, you know what I mean? And this one peak, there's a peak that towers above this lake, and it's called Eagle Cap. So it's a great peak to peak bag, and it's it's 9:30. I'm about it's blackout, and I'm groggy, and I look up, and there's people coming down in headlamps from there, which I could not believe because the weather was atrocious. No idea what they were doing. But anyway, I woke up in the morning. There's a few inches of fresh snow, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, okay, I haven't really experienced this very much, So now I got to find like the trail, and it was just enough snow that like you could kind of see the trail, but kind of not, you know what I mean? So I had like my GPS, but my maps that I was using, they had been wrong before at this turnoff that I was supposed to go to. And so wasn't really trusting them. So I was like, hopefully this will work out. I still had another pass to go over and then come down. Thankfully, everything worked out. As you descended lower, there was no snow finally, but that was a pretty fun experience. There was elk bugling. I had amazing pictures that next day because of the snow and the sun hitting it and the clouds. It was amazing day. Great time. Yeah. But so, scary.
Yeah. Did you have any equipment for snow?
No. Nothing. No, dude. I was like, yeah, the only thing I had was I brought my long leggings. And prior to that, I was all my other summer trips, I really didn't wear leggings at all. Or I didn't even really bring them. I did on the JMT, but after that, I was like, I never used these. So, but I did there and was thankful for that. But that's where that sleeping bag comes in. Like, I didn't know it was going to get that cold, and that helped me. So,
nice. How about? Is there another loop that you did, or another through hike called the Enchantments?
Oh yeah, the Enchantments. The Enchantments. This is so North Cascades, which by the way, the North Cascades are beautiful. Everybody talks about them on the PCT, Goat Rocks, all that kind of area there. And I never really experienced much of it. Well, I met a couple guys on the Timberline Trail, and so I met them up there.
By the way, Barney Scout Mann has quite a story on Goat Rocks in his book, Journeys Northward.
Ooh.
Journeys North. So.
Dang it! Now I got to read it, man.
Yep.
Dang it! I have like 40 books I got to read. So the Enchantments. This is like the premier. So basically, it's a permit system to backpack in the Enchantments. So this is like the premier. Think Golden Ticket JMT. It's like that.
Okay.
But the Enchantments is only like a 20-mile hike. But it's through like the core of the North Cascades. And so, yeah, we just through hiked it in a day. We just pretty much day hiked it. And it was during when it was called the Larch March. And the larches are like these green trees that look like pine trees, right? But they turn gold in October-ish. So like all these trees were gold, and it was like kind of fall weather. And it was great. And then 2 days later, I tore my bicep. So I'll just add that one in there. Yeah.
On the trail?
No, I do jujitsu. I tore my bicep. I didn't tap out to this arm bar. And then, so every time I think about that hike, I like look at those pictures. I was like, oh, I didn't even know how good I had it, man. I had a nice bicep back then.
Wait a second. You didn't tap out to an arm bar? You thought that you were going to get out of that arm bar?
Dude, I have it on video, man. I don't know. Look, I was overtraining. Like, it was just this whole thing. Like, I was not doing good that round. I was frustrated. Usually I tap, obviously. But, just pop, and tore. and then the bell goes off right like a second afterwards. And so, yeah, I have a gnarly, I'm just curling 10 pounds now, 3 months later. I got surgery on the 26th of October, and giant scar. And yeah, they went up, fished it out of my arm, reattached it, drilled through my bone, put a screw in it, and we're not doing too bad. I can't complain.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
that sounds gnarly.
yeah.
I was going to ask if you could send the video. We could post it on social media, but I'm not sure I want to see that.
Dude, Loki, I should send you the video though. It's hard to like tell like what happens, but like, I mean, you can totally tell. And I get up and I'm just like waving my arm and I just like walk away. It's just like people have seen it and they're like, well, you didn't even like say anything. I'm like, yeah, it was weird. Like it didn't hurt that bad. It maybe because I was so warm, but very bizarre injury. I don't recommend it. Tap out.
All right. Any other adventures from 2020?
Well, like I said, we were kind of talking off camera or podcast, Crater Lake winter backpacking. So that was actually in the snow. So that was super fun. I recommend that. It's kind of an interesting little thing to do there. That's our only national park in Oregon. And basically what you do is you literally like walk the road that you would normally drive around the rim. And then once you get like so far, I think like a mile or two from like the main part, you can camp. And so, yeah, we did some snow camping. That was really interesting. Like going in your tent at like 5 PM. It's like, okay, dude, like, what do I do? What do I do now?
It's a long time to be in a tent.
Oh, it was so weird. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, the Lewitt Trail, that was what I did kind of as a shakedown hike for my JMT. And that is around Mount St. Helens. That circumnavigates that. Amazing trail, so many different environments, lava, desert, like above tree line. It's great. Great trail.
Speaking of different environments, Pacific Crest Trail has so many different ecologies. It's almost has different personalities depending on what part of the trail you're on.
Yeah.
I know that the High Sierras and the John Muir Trail are very much different than the section of the PCT that you did in Oregon. What are the main differences between those two settings?
Yeah, great question. So, like I said, a lot of people on the PCT refer to Oregon as the Green Tunnel, you know, and so you're really encapsulated by all these trees. I mean, there's so many trees in Oregon, and so it's just kind of a dark hole that you're in. You don't really have to worry about the sunscreen or anything like that. Like I was kind of alluding to with the Timberline Trail, the trails are very manicured. There's not a lot of rocks. It's dirt, duff. I mean, you got some lava in there, but not too much. Compared to the JMT, like I said, the JMT, I think that, how did I say it in a video? I think that like one Oregon mile is worth at least, or how was that? Or two, frick, now I can't remember. Now I'm on the spot. Like one Oregon mile is worth two.
Probably the other way around. One JMT mile is worth 2 Oregon miles.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So at least probably 2.5, I would imagine, actually. Just rocky, exposed, elevation, everything. And so if you're looking for like a tough hike to do, to like, you know, a tough shorter through hike to do, man, the JMT or the Sierra High Route or any of those, man, it's just it's like a moonscape planet. Like I just didn't, so I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and some people may hear that description, a moonscape planet, and think, well, where's the beauty in that? But really, above tree line, up in the Sierras, high alpine lakes, there is definitely a beauty to that. I mean, it is so awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And because of that, right, tree line and exposed and moonscape, make sure you bring sunglasses. Like that would be another gear item that I would not live without. I almost lost them on the JMT, or I thought I did. I left them by a stream when I was picking onions. I was like a half mile away, and I was freaking out, dude. Like I ran back. I could not imagine doing the JMT in the summer without sunglasses.
That would be trouble.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yep. But great landscape. Yeah. Beautiful.
Hey, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Chadahooche's running skills and running resume, because I understand he's got at least one ultra marathon under his belt.
I do.
And we're going to talk about his 2021 plans. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Talking to Chadahooche about his 2020 highlights. And I see here that you ran a 50K ultra marathon. Have you always been a runner your whole life? Were you a runner in high school?
Honestly, I did track because it helped me for football, but I hated it. I hated doing the mile. I would get that blood in your throat, like when you push yourself too hard. Dude, I hated running. Running. I hated running. Yeah. So,
yep. But you are part of the cult now. You're part of the running cult.
I think there is so much crossover between through hiking and like ultra running or any kind of running.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about like the mentality, right? I also think that, like the feeling you get when you're tired on a hike, right? And you're just like, you're ready to go to bed. Like you don't care about anything. You'll sleep wherever. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? And that's like when you get home, it's hard to replicate that, even if you are working out, even if you are like just doing regular walks or whatever. And I think for me, I'm able to get that same feeling when I'm doing like these longer runs and things like that. So yeah, it's either one or the other. Like, ultra runners either become through hikers become ultra runners. I was listening to a podcast with Andrew Skirka. He's a great guy. You should get him on. Yeah. Skirka and this other guy, and they were just talking about like how, when you're a through hiker or you're through hiking, you just kind of build up this real good foundation base to translate to ultra running and then vice versa. So, yeah.
All right. So how did it enter your mind to 50K this year?
Great. So one of the things I did to train for the JMT originally was trail running, right? I'm just like, well, that kind of has good crossover, right? So I trail ran. I hiked my face off all summer, right? And always in the back of my mind, I want to do this. I want to do an ultra. I want to do an ultra. But I was doing so much training in jiu-jitsu that like I didn't want to sacrifice my jiu-jitsu time to do this ultra marathon training, right? So tear my bicep on October 7th, get surgery a few weeks later. In between that time, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to train jiu-jitsu anymore. So what can I do, right? So like, and I was, reading this book, it's like never waste a good crisis, right? So like, where can I find the opportunity in this? Because it sucked, right? I'm like, well, I have a really good foundation. So I start Googling these ultra marathons. I'm like, oh, let's see. There's an ultra marathon December 4 in Eugene, Oregon. And I'm like, screw it. Let's do it. I'm gonna train for it. I feel like I got a good enough foundation. I just need to hit some long runs and let's do it. So I got surgery so I started running. I got surgery on the 26th of October, took a week off, and then trained through the month of November, hit some long runs back to back, and did this training plan.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
A second. So you have your bicep torn early October.
Yes.
You say, okay, I'm going to start running instead of jiu-jitsu training.
Yeah.
So you're running with a torn bicep.
Yeah.
And you pause, you have surgery, you take a week off, and you say, okay, I'm going to keep training, and I'm going to enter an ultra marathon in early December. Do I have the timeline approximately correct?
Well, when you put it that way, yeah, it kind of seems like I'm pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
course,
dude.
It's just natural for you because you run marathons all the time, right? When was your last marathon?
So I ran a half marathon in 2016, a road half marathon. And that was the last time. I never ran a marathon ever. So
yeah, I was trying to give you credibility there. So, but you're right. You're crazy.
I know.
You're just nuts.
Yeah. So, dude, but it was a great. I'm so glad I did it. I got addicted, just like I did through hiking now. And it's like the same thing. You meet, like, I've met so many cool people through hiking, and now it's like I met all these cool people at the ultra, and now it's just like I just like being around those like-minded people that think like me. And so now, yeah, we're going to see where that takes us.
So 50K translates to about 30 miles, right?
31.1.
31.1.
We'll give you that 1.1, man.
Don't get cheated. You get credit for every mile. That's right.
Yeah, dude.
31.1. And how was the experience?
Dude, it was awesome. Look, dude, the first 15, 20 miles, I don't know. They weren't even on the radar. I mean, it was just like I was kind of talking to people. I was running. I was kind of in the zone. I told myself I wasn't going to listen to music till the halfway point, so I could kind of use that as like a carrot in front of me, you know? So I started listening to music. I was all good. And oh my God. Okay, this is a funny story. So I figured out I'm a cramper. Okay. So I get to this aid station, and and there was this guy that had came behind me, and I stubbed my toe on this root, and I like cramped up immediately in my calf. And I was like, shoot, you know, I worked out of it. Got to this aid station. I'm talking to this guy that's ran the Western states and all these other things, and he's like, yeah, dude, like you can't do any sudden movements. Okay. And I go,
I've got a story.
Yes. Okay, sweet. He's like, no sudden movements. Okay. Because you're going to cramp up. What do I do approximately 6 minutes later? We're coming in. It's a 4-loop thing all across the mountain. Coming in, there's this photographer there. He's sitting there, and of course I'm coming around the corner, and I'm like, dude, like this is a great opportunity to like do something kind of cool. So what do? I jump up in the air, and I click my heels together. And dude, he takes 3 photos as I'm doing this. I come back down, and I immediately, my entire 75% of my lower body just locks up. I cannot move. I'm on the ground. I'm like withering in pain. I'm trying to stretch it out. I don't know what I literally think my race is over. You know, I'm on the ground, and people are running past me like, you all right? I'm like, oh my God. I work out of it, and I'm like, okay, that was really close, right? So I get to this other aid station, I get some stuff, and I don't bring any salt tabs because it was like it was called the Frozen Run Trail Fest. It was like 30 degrees. I didn't think I was going to be. I took some electrolytes and stuff, but I didn't think I needed that much. So it was the final loop. So it was like 6 more miles, and I elected not to bring my trekking poles because I felt good again. So I'm running off, and I'm about 300 yards away from this aid station, and I start cramping in my inner groin. Takes me down again. And I'm like, of course, I don't want to go back to my trekking poles now. And I'm like, and this guy runs past me. He's like, dude, just walk it out. Just breathe. And I'm like, oh my God. So like basically every aid station after that, I'm trying to find the sodium, like anything that has sodium, just jamming it in my mouth. And thankfully never cramped again, but it was scary. So
yeah, I am also a cramper.
Dude.
I can identify with that.
Dude.
I did the LA Marathon.
Oh, okay.
Finished the LA Marathon, and my wife picked me up. Unfortunately, she couldn't park anywhere near the finish line, so we had to walk quite a ways back to the car. And as we're walking, there's somebody coming towards me on the sidewalk, and so I stepped to the side, right, to be polite. You know, I stepped to the side, so I'm not in the way. And I stepped down into a planter I didn't realize was there, like kind of a circular planter around a tree on the side.
Oh, yeah.
And it was that sudden movement of stepping down into the planter unexpectedly, and my right calf locked up like nobody's business. And it was so painful I couldn't even make a noise. I was like screaming silently. And meanwhile, my wife she keeps on walking down the sidewalk, right? And so she gets 30 feet down. She realizes I'm not with her. She turns around. She's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm pointing at my leg. I can't make any noise." It was, horrific.
Yeah, just like, you know, because sometimes you'll get them when you're sleeping or something like that, you know, and you just got to kind of like stretch it out or whatever. But it's like, yeah, with those, it's like it's not going away when you're doing everything you can do it, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that is such a funny story. At least it didn't happen when you were racing, though. It's good it happened after.
Yeah, I've had a few while racing too, and both my quads and both my hamstrings decided to cramp up when I was about 50 feet from the top of Half Dome on the cables.
And there's probably 1 million people behind you.
Yeah, people coming down at me, people coming up behind me, and I'm stuck there thinking, what am I gonna do? Here I am about 350 feet above the ground on a 70-degree angle with everything cramping up. It was nightmare.
My God, dude. That. I literally could not think of a worse place to actually do that on. Holy crap, dude. Wow.
Yeah.
You're just like, no, dude, I'm cramping. Like, you don't get it. These people are probably just like, grr. Oh my God, man. Yeah. So yeah, dude, like, so yeah, salt, apparently. Salt.
Is that your pro tip?
No, but
No. Okay. We're not there
that
yet.
could be a pro tip.
We're not there. Yeah, if you're running ultras, make sure you do your electrolytes and your salt. Avoid those cramps.
Dude.
Now, you speak of like-minded people, you know, the ultra endurance folks. I had a couple of guys on here who met at an endurance race and ended up doing the John Muir Trail in less than 6 days.
What year was that?
That was this past year.
2020?
2020. Yeah.
I think they started just before me. Did they know? Do you know when they did it? Was it July?
I would have to go look back through the episode notes, but
only
could have been. Mm-hmm.
Because were they from Oregon?
One may be up in Oregon. The other one I think is down in San Diego.
Okay,
but they met at the Moab 240.
240.
Yeah,
makes sense because that's right near Whitney, kind of. I mean, in Death Valley, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
So for our listeners out there, 240 refers to the mileage of that particular trail race. 240 miles.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because the only reason I asked is because the guy that dropped me off at Horseshoe Meadows was saying something about that, how these guys were doing it, and he had dropped them off. So I wonder if it was them. But 6 days.
6 days. Yeah. They thought that, and our listeners have heard this before, but I good stories are worth telling multiple times. So they had thought, they had done the Moab 240. They're ultra endurance runners. They're just going to run.
You can already see where this is going. Yeah,
they're going to run the trail. And I think it was Gabe and Kevin, and Gabe's wife said, you only have a week to do this. I don't know if there was family plans or what the deal was, but she gave him a week to do this. So he's like, oh, it's no problem. We're gonna run this just like we do the Moab 240. This is only 211, no problem. And so they get to they get down to the Sierras and they start. And day one they realize that they can't run the John Muir Trail. They can't. And so there's only 2 ways to do the John Muir Trail in 6 days, and that is 1, you're going to run it, or 2, you're going to put in extremely long days of hiking. Yeah. If you can't increase your speed, you're going to have to increase your time spent each day hiking, and that's what they did. They did it in like 5 days and 22 hours, something like that. And they would get up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and they would get into camp at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
They had to be wrecked.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
Wrecked. I cannot. But oh my God! I mean, that speaks to the terrain, right? Like I was talking about. It's just I don't know how you would freaking run, especially like Mather Pass, like. Those golden. I was going down that thing. I'm like, I cannot imagine going up this thing like that. Oh, dude.
Yeah, I've gone up the Golden Staircase twice.
Oh, God bless you.
That is something. Boy.
Oh man. You know what was funny is like I didn't even know it was called the Golden Staircase. So like these guys were like talking about it, and they're like, "Yeah, like how's the Golden Staircase?" I'm like, "What?" Like I was already in the valley then. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? They're like, oh, that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense because that descent was gnarly, dude. I can't imagine the descent.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, that sounds like that was quite a 2020 for you. I mean, here we are in the middle of a pandemic, and you were able to get out and do all of those great things. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's on your radar for 2021?
2021. Well, we are supposed to be summiting Mount St. Helens on Saturday, as long as the avalanche risk isn't too gnarly. We're getting smacked with some storms up here, so I guess like the avalanche risks are really bad right now. So we're looking at that, but that should happen at some point in January. Just got my crampons. It's all that. It's pretty sweet.
Oh, look at you.
I know. I'm so legit. Look, I'm just the guy. I am the guide, man. No, don't follow me. Probably not right yet. Yeah, and so we have Mount St. Helens, and then I am really gearing up for Mount Hood in the spring, which is more technical. Well, it's still not considered technical, but to me, it looks pretty technical. I don't know, man. Like you need some ice axes and you need all that, the whole shebang, you know? And so I'm really wanting to do that. My roommate's done it. I cannot let him be the only person that has done it that I know. So I got to get on that one. And then, so I have a bunch of other summits in there that are local. And then a 50-mile ultra in June.
Not a 50K, a 50-mile.
Yep, a 50-miler. I eventually want, well, this is going to be on the podcast now, so just like the PCT, I'm going to do
Speak it into existence.
Yep, I'm going to do a 100-miler. And well, I don't know if you, I don't really know the specs for it. I don't know if you have to qualify for some or whatever, but perhaps next year if I need to qualify, or if I don't need to qualify, probably the next year if I have to qualify. So, but we're going to do a 100-miler, man. It's going to happen. Put it on the books.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so then I have a Tahoe Rim through hike planned for early July. And then the Uinta Highline Trail, which is 100 miles. This is a really interesting trail. I met a guy on the JMT that lives in Utah, so we're going to do it. Like-minded people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Uinta Highline, it's like an east to west trail, and it goes through the Uintas in northeast Oregon, or northeast Utah rather, and super desolate. A lot of it, like, there's not even really a trail. Kind of reminds me of like a CDT type thingy.
I think I saw a YouTube documentary on this.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a couple of them, like Darwin's done some, Z-Pax has done a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff, but it's super, yeah, kind of remote, not very popular.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hear elk bugling and that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll do that, and then a couple other probably little things mixed in there, and yeah.
Well,
Wonderland Trail, that's what I want to do.
Wonderland, okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I've talked to a few people who've done the Wonderland, and they rave about it.
I just got to get the permit, so got to figure that out.
And there are specified campgrounds that you have to use on the Wonderland Trail. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the easy way to get a permit is if you do like a campground that is also like a car campground, and I'm like, I'm good, dude. I don't want to do that. So I got to finagle some way to get a permit without doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chadahooche, I need to commend you on your varied obsessions. I was going to call them hobbies, but I think they're obsessions. I think there's an obsessive bit to each of us that get involved with this stuff. But, you know, jiu-jitsu, not tapping out during an arm bar, that's something. You know, the endurance running, going from a half marathon 4 years ago to a 50K ultra, and now onto a 50-mile and then a 100-mile that you just published verbally.
Yeah.
Through hiking. And also you've spent some time just now talking about peak bagging. So, I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I think that may have been one of the reasons why I was single after the JMT. I remember a quote is like, when you get into something, I put this as nicely as I can, but you become obsessed. I'm like, well, look, to be great, you got to be obsessed. So I don't know what to tell you, man. So it's all good.
That's a great quote. I might title the episode that. To be great,
ooh, I like that.
You have to be obsessed.
I love that.
Okay.
And you know what? A book that I read, you must like reading because you recommend it, but it was called Relentless by Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan, Kobe's like basketball trainer. I'm not into basketball by any means. I suck at it. I hate watching it. Ugh. But he talks about...
You're less of a basketball fan than you are a Packer fan.
Yeah, way less, dude. Way less. But he's the guy that really kind of normalized it for me, like that kind of thinking. Because I used to think I was like, maybe I am like kind of weird and like obsessed with this stuff. Because nobody else, I mean, some people are, but no, I don't, and then I read that book and I was like, you know what? Like, I think this is my personality and I'm cool with it. So yeah, it was a good book.
Nice. Does Haley know this about you?
Dude, I was literally, as we were talking about this, I was literally just thinking about that. So Haley is super cool because she was like, I don't want you to like change who you are. Like, before we started dating, she was like, like if I ever become like, you know, where too much of a distraction for you, I want you to like tell me. So like that's what I need in my life. That's the type of support I need, you know. And so she's been super supportive with it, and yeah, so I think that's a big part of what attracted her to me in the first place. So it does kind of make sense to like, why would I stop? And then, you know what I mean? So, yeah, dude, shout out Haley.
Okay. There you go.
She's going to love that one. She's good stuff.
Nice. Hey, top 5 list, impromptu top 5 list.
Okay. So what was this again?
So this is the point in the episode. I didn't give you a preview on this. This is
right.
I'm springing this on you right now. Impromptu top 5 list. I'd love to hear your top 5. Oh, you know what? You've been talking a lot about adventure media, whether it be documentaries, films, books.
Okay, gotcha.
Give me a top 5 list related to adventure media. Whether it's related to thru hiking or endurance running, you know, what are some temporary escapes our listeners can listen to or watch?
Dude,
you have some items for us?
I love this. Okay, number 1 is How to Run 100 Miles. Amazing documentary by REI, and it's these 2 guys. They hate run. Well, one of them hates running, and the other guy like. Yeah. Anyway, they sign up for 100 miles. It's hilarious. It's a hilarious documentary.
Yeah. Brendan Leonard was one of them.
Yes. Yep.
And he was on the pod. He's semi-rad. He has the semi-rad website, and he's a contributor to Outside Magazine. And he was a great interview. He talked about that, and I told him that, you know, you think it's an instructional video, right? Just from the title, How to Run 100 Miles. And I you know, doing my research for his episode, I watched it. I said, oh, let's see what this is. And I realized maybe halfway into it, this is not an instructional video. This is the story of the guy he's running with.
Yeah.
That's a great.
So you which guy is that now? The dark haired guy? The kind of.
He is I think the main narrator.
Okay. Yep. The other guy. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Yeah. Dude. Yeah. He's funny too. Cause like it starts with him like brushing his teeth or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Love that one. And I'm glad you extrapolated it out to like endurance stuff too, because that's a great way to get inspired. I love watching these ultra documentaries. They're so awesome. Number 2 would be The Why, and that is by Billy Yang. That's another 100-miler film, Leadville. Amazing. That's a great one because I love watching the ones where people are struggling because I can really relate to that. And like, because I've watched some films where it's like they don't have any issues, and I'm like, oh, that was freaking boring, dude. Like, it just wasn't that cool. And
I'm smiling because this is episode 8, season 2, episode 8. Guess who my guest was, season 2, episode 7?
Billy Yang.
Billy Yang. Yeah.
Dude, let's go! I can't wait, man. Yes.
Have you watched his documentary, his YouTube film on the John Muir Trail?
I watched a little bit of it. It's hard for me to watch other people's stuff because it makes me miss it so freaking much that like it's so tough to watch it. So I like kind of skipped through, and I knew he was struggling pretty bad.
Oh yeah.
Which is like, I get it because like he was, you know, he's not a thru hiker, but he's an endurance athlete. I thought like, I don't know, but I guess there isn't some of that there is some of that overlap, but some of the times like with gear and gear selections, that's where it really shows you how important that stuff is. You know?
Yeah, a great video. He really struggled, like you said. He struggled on the trail, and there's a surprise ending. So I won't give.
Really?
I won't give anything else away. But there's a surprise ending to the video.
Oh, son of a gun! Now I gotta freaking watch it, dude. You're killing me. Cool. And he went like 2 weeks before me, week or two before me, actually. Okay. Yeah, northbound. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay, number 3 would be. So this is. Okay. Elena Osborne. How do you pronounce her name? She did a Pacific Crest Trail documentary, and she did it in chapters. That's kind of where I got the chapters for my JMT inspiration. Elena Osborne. Yeah. So if you just like Google her on YouTube, she's got like these chapters, like 5 chapters on the PCT in 2019. Amazing. She's a filmmaker, or like studied it in school. Amazing visuals, great narration, really sucks you in. Great videos there.
Okay.
And then, okay, number 4 would be, I've recently gotten into these guys. This is just kind of like a series, I guess. But the Mediocre Amateurs. So they're a YouTube channel, and they're like, you know, they're like in their mid 40s and stuff, and they're just killing it, man. They're like, they'll go like skin up on their skis to Mount St. Helens, and they'll ski down. Then the next day they'll go climb Hood, ski down. They got all these crazy ultra running adventures that they do, and they just kind of document it with like a GoPro and stuff. And I don't know, their music is great. It's just really inspiring, humorous, very good series. Mediocre Amateurs.
I'm gonna have to look them up. I might try and get them on the pod. That's
dude, you would love
right up our alley.
Dude, you would love them. They're so hilarious. Me and my roommates watch them all the time. It's so funny. Number 5. Okay, well, just because I can't think of one right now, and so now I'm just scrambling, would be the Michael Jordan documentary. This doesn't have anything to do with endurance athletes, but the Michael Jordan documentary, that like 10-part series, The Last Dance. Amazing. And that's another one where it's like the great, you know, obsession and greatness. He is on another level, and that's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That's a good collection right there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. Hey, Chadahooche, you know where we are?
We're at probably the insider tip.
That's right. Pro tip inside of the week. What do you have for us?
Okay, so this is one I've been thinking about. So I think here's a tip for people. Okay. I think you need to, this is kind of like a philosophy sort of thing here, so maybe it's a little curveball, but I think people need to prioritize adventure. And so like what I mean by that is, I used to be really bad at, I always wanted to go have adventures and do stuff outside and do all that stuff, right? And summer would come, and I would get there, it would get there, and I would be sucked into doing something for the weekend, and then I wouldn't go, and then, or I'd go out to the bar, or I would do this and I would do that. And so basically everything, I was putting everything before like the adventure, right? And so I think you need, if you really want to like have fun adventures and like get out and make the most out of your summer, you need to prioritize adventure. And so put things on the calendar, give them dates, and it's going to inspire you, like, you know, through the doldrums of winter that we're in right now, to like research more on it, like develop your itineraries, do all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a big way for you to actually follow through. So you have it on those dates. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to get sucked into X, Y, and Z. And you go out and you do it, and you are a better person for it. You push your comfort zone, and now you are rolling. You're on to the next thing. You're on to the next thing. And that's how I've chosen to live my life in the last couple of years, and dude, it's fun. It's a good time.
That is great. Prioritize adventure. That's probably one of the best pro tips we've had. So thank you.
Yes. Let's go, dude. Knocked it out of the park.
All right. So there you have it. That's it. Season 2, episode 8 is in the books. I hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Chadahooche. And I want to thank him for joining us this week. Chadahooche, one more time, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures?
Yeah, dude. So Instagram and TikTok, by the way. I'm not TikTok. Dude, TikTok's is you gotta check out the TikTok.
My 20-year-old daughter said, "Dad, you need to do some TikToks, and that'll get your audience numbers up." So,
dude, I'm telling you. Here's a pro tip. It's got really big organic reach that Instagram and all those other ones don't have, so it's easy to like go viral on it. So probably shouldn't say that on the podcast, damn it. But yeah, so Instagram, TikTok, Chadahooche _ find me there. And then on YouTube, I'm just Chad Lubinsky on there, because I couldn't figure out how the heck to change my YouTube name without changing my email with it too. I don't know. So yeah, check out that 14-part series. It's been hearing some good things on it, and yeah, that's about it.
Fantastic. Remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and possibly TikTok. We'll see. And if you have comments or clips you want to share, you can send it to me at johnfreakinmuir@gmail.com. Chadahooche. I'm also. Oh, you know what? I'm going to edit this part out because this is something we already talked about. It's going to be adventure media, but you've already given us fantastic adventure media recommendations. So, cutting that part out. So, that is a wrap from the John freaking Muir studio. Any shout outs for you, Chadahooche? Anybody you want to say hi to out there?
Oh, that is awesome, man. I love that. Yeah, man, I would say my awesome roommates. I see one right now, JC. He's actually going to be cooking dinner for us tomorrow. Me and my girlfriend. That sounds so weird, but yeah, he loves to cook. JC, Marcus, and
Some people guide and some people cook.
Exactly, dude. And he's a bomb cook, except for when he tries to do the Dutch oven in the fire pit outside. We end up burning stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, Haley, obviously, she's awesome. Parents, mom and dad, Mary and Larry, and Brett and Brittany, brother and sister. And yeah, man, I appreciate the time. That was cool. I like the shout out.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Always remember, the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.
Yes. Embrace the suck. No kidding. That's totally true. Yep.